The bottom line is sexual conflict is pervasive, but I'm going to be focusing on particular arenas of sexual conflict in this talk. So the outline of this talk is that I'm going to talk about three spheres of conflict in mating. Sexual conflict prior to mating, and this is basically what I call mating market conflict. So before the mateship actually occurs, what kinds of sexual conflicts occur there. After a couple get together, after a man and woman pair up, what are the conflicts that occur during the course of the mateship, and then finally in the aftermath of the breakup? Because you think, well, boy, I've gone through all this battle, the courtship, I've successfully identified someone, I've successfully attracted them, I've met their screening procedures, and their parents approve of me, so phew, I can finally relax. No, you can't. Sexual conflict continues on into the relationship, and then you think, okay, now I'm finally rid of this person. No, sometimes you're not. Okay, they come back to haunt you. And I'm going to give some examples of that as well. Okay, so first, sexual conflict prior to mating. Now, here's where I have to issue my Surgeon General's warning. Men and women differ in this realm, and so what I want to do, some people are bothered by the existence of sex differences, and so I want to give you the meta theory of where we expect to see sex differences, where we expect to see similarities between the sexes. We expect men and women to differ only in those domains where they have recurrently faced different adaptive problems over human evolutionary history. Now, in many domains, the sexes have faced essentially the same adaptive problems. Both sexes have to eat, so both sexes have more or less similar taste preferences. We all like things that have fat, sugar, salt, and protein. Where you see sex differences in taste preferences is when women face a different adaptive problem. Namely, when they get pregnant, their taste preferences shift because they face an adaptive problem that they haven't faced previously, which is ingesting substances that are what are known as teratogenic, that are dangerous for their fetus. And so that's why women, for example, don't like broccoli all of a sudden when they get pregnant, especially in the first trimester, when the brain growth is occurring and the fetus is especially vulnerable to the ingestion of teratogens. Both sexes have to fend off predators. Okay, both sexes have similar kinds of fears of things like snakes and spiders. Also, the hostile forces of nature. Both sexes have sweat glands and shivering mechanisms to deal with extremes of temperature. But in some domains, the sexes have differed in their adaptive problems, and it's only in those domains where we expect the sexes to differ fundamentally in their underlying psychology, in their underlying sexual strategies, and in the manifest behavior that they exhibit in the mating arena. What are some of those domains? These are the most important. These aren't the only domains, but these are the most important in terms of our reproductive biology. Okay, the first is the fact that fertilization occurs internally within females, not within males. Second, females face the adaptive problem of obligatory parental investment. Okay, namely, in order to produce a single child, the woman has to invest how long? Yes, exactly, 9 months. And it's obligatory in the sense that she doesn't have a choice about it. She can't say, well, I really would prefer only to invest 2.5 months. I'm kind of busy. No, it's obligatory. That's just the nature of our biology. She has to invest that 9 months. What is the equivalent investment that a man has to put in to produce that same child? 6 minutes? 3 minutes? Well, there are large individual differences here. But even if it's 6 days, it's still substantially less than 9 months. So there's a rather profound sex difference there. Of course, breastfeeding is something that women, but not men, do, another metabolic cost. Genetic cuckoldry. Some cultures have a phrase to describe this. They say, mama's baby, papa's maybe. Okay, women are always 100% sure that they are the mothers of their child, and that is because of the fact of internal female fertilization. Males can never be sure, and in fact we know based on studies of DNA fingerprinting that humans, depending on the culture and the context, have cuckoldry rates, genetic cuckoldry rates of anywhere around from 9 to 13%. So that means that if I look out into this room, let's say round it off to 10% of you have genetic fathers who are different from the person you believe to be your father. Of course, I could be in that 10% as well. You know? As a consequence, there's the potential for misdirected parental investment. That is, men could invest in a child in the mistaken belief that he is the father when in fact he's not. He has been cuckolded. And then finally, two other features that are sex-differentiated aspects of our reproductive biology. One is that ovulation is relatively cryptic in females, relatively concealed. And I say relatively because there's some recent evidence that it is not as concealed as was once believed, but it is relatively concealed compared to most primates. And that poses an interesting adaptive problem in that men can never be sure when a female is actually fertile, that is capable of being fertilized, capable of becoming pregnant. And then finally, women undergo a cyclic period, a menstrual cycle, where they are only fertile for a very brief window in a 28-day span, and namely when the egg is ovulated. And when the egg is ovulated, there's this window of about 12 to 24 hours when a female is capable of being fertilized. And outside of that window, she's not. In contrast, men are capable of fertilizing females throughout the month. Now, it would be absolutely astonishing if these fundamental sex differences in our reproductive biology had absolutely no consequences for our strategies of human mating. They're profoundly different adaptive problems that men and women have faced, and it would be like saying we found that humans are bipedal, we walk on two legs, but there is no behavior that corresponds to it. Well, of course there is. There's bipedal locomotion. There's walking and running on two legs. And so species tend to evolve adaptations that are specialized for the adaptive problems that they faced, in this case, sex-differentiated ones. Okay, now, some of the most important causes of sexual conflict that I'm going to be getting into. Short-term mating, sexual infidelity, mate poaching. Let's start with short-term mating. Okay. How many sex partners would you like to have over the next month? If I gave you your magic, I'm king for the day, and I can grant you your wish. So how many sex partners would you ideally like to have over the next year? Or how about the rest of your life? What was your ideal number? How many would you say? You don't want to say, huh? Well, you don't have to tell me because we collect the data on this. This is ideal number of sex partners. And so we have a number of sex partners on the y-axis, and this is different time intervals where we have a month, a year, 2 years, a lifetime. And as you can see, women over the next month said they would like to have 8/10 of a sex partner, gradually escalating to a full sex partner at 6 months, and then leveling off at 4 to 5 in a lifespan. Of course, a lot of women did say 1, but some women said 12, and so it kind of averages out to 4 to 5. Men said 2 in the next month, that'd be good, 8 in the next couple of years, and 18 in the lifespan. That was after eliminating 3 men from the study who said they were like 1,000. Okay, let's say that you met someone of the opposite sex who you found attractive, and you'd known them for a particular length of time. What is the probability that you would have sex with this person? Well, as you can see, so this is on the y-axis here, we have